Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte. What's up, 49er faithful? Live from the laundry room. Yeah, admit yourself, Jordan. I can hear it. Yeah. Live from the laundry room, recapping a boring day today. I mean, it was really boring. One thing, nothing really happened today. I didn't get Brad Graham's autograph. Just a bad day overall. But I've got Jordan Elliott of Niners Nation here to help me make sense of this boring day where nothing happened at all. Jordan, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. A little fired up. A couple fights at practice today. Hands being thrown, tackles being made, balls getting dropped. I mean, training camp's here.
Yeah, and I guess that's where we should start. Everybody's obviously heard what's happened today. So you have to start yesterday with what Fred Warner said at the podium about trying to get the most out of Aiyuk to talk. And he says that, and I believe Aiyuk said something about it bothering him in some way. Well, here we are. It kind of came to a head today. And it was after a catch during the team period. And I think Fred punched the ball out after the play. And it seemed like Aiyuk had enough. A scrum started. And then from there, it just was a big pylon. So, Jordan, what did you see? Because we were just looking around, and then we just see all of a sudden everybody running towards. It didn't look like anything was about to happen. And it just happened like that fast.
I believe it was Marcus Johnson came across on a little shallow cross over the middle. And Warner, kind of dipped a little shoulder into him. He didn't know he was there. And from what I saw where we were at, it just looked like Aiyuk kind of stepped up for his guy, and maybe was looking for any opportunity to kind of get in Fred's face. Again, I don't know what the backstory is. I'm not trying to, but it looked like he was very eager to stand up for his teammate. Let's phrase it that way, because he did. And it wasn't just your typical shoving. They both threw hands up. Like they were squaring up like they were going to go at it. Yeah. So, hey, it's hot. It was hot as hell out there today. I'll tell you guys that much. In Santa Clara, for those of you who live in the Bay Area, our hot is probably different from where other people are. It's hot, but when it gets to the low 90s, high 80s, like it's different kind of heat out here. So I'm sure there were some tensions. Those guys were out there on that hot field, and tensions were mounting over the course of the day. But there were two fights today, and it looked like Aiyuk was at the center of both of them. So he's got a little bit of fire out there, and I think that's a good thing. And I will say this too: the first rep he had on the field after that second fight with Warner, he just absolutely blew Samuel Womack off the line with a beautiful release at the line of scrimmage. Ran a through route over the middle, caught a nice ball on the move for what would have been a big gain. Obviously, these guys aren't tackling each other; they're still in the early stages of camp. But it was very nice to see him rebound. It didn't look like he was in his head. It didn't look like it got to him. He came out and had one of his more impressive reps of the day right after this fight. So I think Brandon Aiyuk's just locked in. He looked really good all camp. And the only down, obviously, is you don't want these guys hurting each other. And I think that's why Kyle kind of calmed things down. They paused practice for a minute. Everybody huddled up. But, I have to imagine there's a level of, fire that these guys are seeing from the players where they're a little bit fired up. Like I'm not saying Kyle Shanahan's encouraging this, but I think that they definitely are, it's better than these guys just slugging their way through these practices. Like they're at least showing a little bit of intensity.
Yeah, and then you see Fred Warner. So that was the first portion that I was describing. The second portion was that where Marcus Johnson catches the slant and Fred laid him out, and he kind of looked at Aiyuk and flexed like that, and that's what just set it off, like everything. And then it was true. Fred and Aiyuk were squared up. Dre Greenlaw went in there, started squaring up. And again, you don't want this to happen constantly, but it is nice to see that fire. And again, I think it's a little bit more about Fred talking about, I'm trying to get the most out of him. And I think I just said this on the Oh Hey There podcast. You should subscribe to that wherever you get your audio podcast, by the way. But Fred's style is evolving in terms of coaches don't have a cookie cutter way of how to, push guys. Some guys you got to lean on. Some guys you let do their thing. I think there's something about what Fred is doing is because he wants to get more out of him, and it's only directed at Brandon, but it was clear that this has been kind of building, and Brandon had enough today. Let me take this donation real quick from Gammon. Hit the like button. Aiyuk and Warner. Yeah, there wasn't really many punches thrown, and also the squaring up while the guy's wearing a helmet thing will always kind of baffle me because it's just like, dude, you're just waiting to break your hand. But again, it just seemed like spirited competition, guys going against all pros trying to prove themselves. But I think Jordan hit the nail on the head. Brandon Aiyuk continues to dominate out there. He's the best offensive player on the field. He had another great day, many great catches. But yeah, that was the scoop on what happened with that. Jordan, do you actually want to talk about some actual football? Did you want to give thoughts on somebody who you thought today had a really good day?
Yeah, I'd actually like to talk a little bit about yesterday because somebody did have a great day, and that man was Brad Graham. I watched Brad Graham sign an autograph 3 feet from me, and nobody is more deserving of having somebody come up and ask for an autograph. And I just wanted to give him a quick shout out because the amount of work he puts in is phenomenal. But it was very surreal to watch somebody literally walk up with a Sharpie, and it was one of the most humble responses I've ever seen, where he literally did the kind of Ricky Bobby, like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, he was like holding the Sharpie. He's like, I've never done this before. Like, what do I do? So quick shout out, Brad Graham's winning camp. But if talking real football today, there's a lot to like. Second play of 11s, I had Javon Kinlaw with a sack, had a great bull rush from the 3-tech on Aaron Banks. And then what was very encouraging was a couple plays later, Kinlaw went to that same bull rush, and when Banks went to anchor, Kinlaw went to hit him with a spin move, and Banks drove him into the ground. And I promise you, Javon Kinlaw is not somebody that you're going to have an easy time driving into the ground like that. We've seen a lot of, I saw the same thing with Bowman McGlinchey a couple days ago, is that now that the pads are on, you're seeing a little bit more of an even fight between this offensive and defensive line. And the defensive line had the advantage for the majority of the beginning of camp. We're seeing the offensive line kind of swing back and punch back. And I really like that. And, Trey Sermon, I thought, had the best practice I've seen him have during training camp over the last 2 seasons. I thought he looked powerful, explosive, decisive with his cuts, showed some real nice burst getting to the outside. So, yeah, there was a lot of really good positives to take away today. I think it was the best camp practice by far so far this year. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I haven't been here for many, but it's really up there. I mean, it's good to see so many different people contributing, and how much of what was going on with the defensive line had to do with the fact that Charvarius Ward has been absolute clamps, and he was not there today. But it's again, they're getting to the line. Mike McGlinchey didn't practice today. Brunskill took the center snaps. They're working through that. I thought Trey was good today as well too. Obviously, Brandon Aiyuk, Trey Sermon, you mentioned TDP, Jordan Mason. Justin, if you're here, man, it's going to be hard to keep this man off the roster without a proper answer. Real quick before we move on, Alvaro wants to know, Jordan, when the YouTube channel coming back?
I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't think you guys understand how draining the YouTube stuff is, and how much guys like Jason and Brad and Steph and all these people who do great work, it's very taxing. And I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm telling you, it genuinely takes a lot to do the amount of stuff that they do. And I've just been so busy with other stuff, and I do have my obligations at Niners Nation, which you should always go check out. There's great stuff over there. So I'm kind of prioritizing my written work, and hey, I've put a lot of work into some really good articles, I feel like, the last couple of weeks. So if you head over there, it's there. I appreciate anybody who's hoping to tune in, but I promise you guys, it is very, very difficult to balance that with all the other stuff. So I hope it gives you a little bit finer appreciation for the content that so many of these guys do and gals do, that you guys love absorbing and watching and whatnot. Jason, you're muted.
I said nothing that entire time. Got it. So, so basically, Mason, shout out to you, man. I hope to see you soon. So basically, when the guys weren't getting into fights, it was a good day for all of them. Aziz did well. He had some pressures. He actually covered Kittle pretty well, got a PBU. I talked to Guy Haberman for a second before, he was busy moving around, and we talked real quick, and he said he saw Dre Greenlaw pacing and talking to himself and hyping himself up and getting into this I guess whatever the dark place Jeff Wilson's in. This doesn't seem like any of these linebackers came to play in this training camp. So again, the 49ers have the best three group, the best trio in the league, and I don't think that's going to change, and especially with the way that things are looking, it's just going to be contingent on health. But yeah, that's kind of what I saw from the outside linebackers. Jordan, anything?
Yeah, both outside linebackers had pass breakups today. Greenlaw had a really nice one where they blitzed him off the edge on the left side, and he got his hands up while Lance was on the flat and broke up. And Al-Shaair had one on a rep where he was guarding Kittle in the flat on a little play fake where Lance rolled back out to his right and through to the flat. So they just showed their range and they showed their athleticism. Greenlaw is a converted safety, so he's really good in space. He's somebody who has natural instincts in space. And Al-Shaair is another guy who's just a tremendous athlete, really rangy. The sideline-to-sideline speed between this group is insane. They're one of the few trios in the league where I would feel comfortable leaving them in that base 4-3 where you have three linebackers on the field and trust them, against offenses where you feel confident if they're going to go out and pass on early downs against that base set. So, it's just a lot of encouraging things. I think it's really hard because as of now, Greenlaw has been getting the reps at that will linebacker spot. He's been the guy when they have two linebackers on the field. But I think Al-Shaair is creating a very healthy competition that's only going to push him to get better. And I think the fact that you have the ability to have a guy like Al-Shaair step in or have a guy like Flanagan Fowles step in should an unfortunate injury arise, which again is an unfortunate reality that comes with sport of football. That's a luxury that very few teams have, if any. I think the 49ers not only have best linebacker group, I think they have the deepest linebacker group, and I think it's been on full display recently.
Absolutely. Some other guys that stood out. Danny Gray, it was his best day today. Nate Sudfeld dropped two beautiful passes into him, one up the left sideline, one up the right sideline while he had a step. That was that speed that everybody is looking for. He had himself his best session, but though it's easy to get impressed with those, but he made a catch over the middle on a in-breaking route on a slant. He took a shot, but he held on to the ball. Danny Gray definitely had himself a day. Talanoa Hufanga continues to play well in coverage. I mean, we all kind of said, okay, he clamped on Ross Dwelly yesterday. Well, the first rep was against George Kittle, and he was there for a PBU. Like, he was locked up with him. So he seems to be getting better as well, too. Want to make sure that you give him his just due lately. And I guess we'll, end with Trey Lance. But there was, again, big day for Trey Sermon. TDP actually looked really good. Jordan Mason was really good. But I just wanted to make sure that we talked about all those other guys as well, because everybody's going to want to know about Trey. Jordan, anybody else that you kind of missed, or you think that we covered everybody who had a standout day today?
I thought that Tarvarius Moore has looked pretty good the way he's been running around lately. He showed up. I forget who it was. I have it in my notes. It was Dwell. One-on-one reps, and he was guarding a little out route to the side, and he did a really good job of not allowing much separation and then coming over with his right hand over the back shoulder of Dwelly to break up this pass without contacting him in a way that would draw a flag or create a DPI penalty. He's somebody that's going to be a really important part of this defense. And he's obviously coming off of that Achilles tear that he had last June. So I think that he's showing more and more explosion and getting more comfortable getting back into that regular range of motion he's going to see on a field after missing that much time. I thought he looked pretty good. I thought Brunskill had a couple really nice reps when they had him pulling and out in space and doing a lot of the things that he's grown accustomed to being a guard the last couple of years. They're having him take reps at center. He was with the first team again today, and I thought that he had some reps that were really encouraging. And I just think the offense as a whole has rebounded really well the last couple of days. They were getting absolutely fried the first few days of practice. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat it. The defense was absolutely dominating them, and I think it's getting to be more balanced. I still think the defense has the upper hand, and that's fair to, understand considering the fact that they've been a top 5 defense for 3 years, and they're arguably deeper now than they had been the last couple of seasons. So I do think the offense showing a ability to rebound was very encouraging as well.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with you. Let's take some questions real quick. DeMarcus Dixon wants to know, speaking of Jeff Wilson, any word on his injury today? He was rotated in. He missed yesterday. Hard to see. I mean, I don't want to write him off and say, the injury has zapped his juice or anything like that, but it hasn't been anything that's really popped off or anything like that, unless, Jordan, would you disagree with that?
No, I haven't heard anything specific, so I don't like talking. They'll usually get a statement, and that's something that's a little bit more verified. And I haven't heard or seen anything that's indicative of him, going to be missing any significant time or be held out. He looked like he was moving pretty well out there today. I just think it's going to be a very tough battle for a few of those running back spots. I think Elijah Mitchell's locked into that number 1 spot. I think that Trey Sermon is probably a pretty sure bet to make the roster, and Juszczyk obviously, but beyond that, it's going to be, there's a few guys in the running for the last couple spots, and I don't think that anything's guaranteed. And it's a bummer because Jeff Wilson's been one of my favorite players to cover on this team. I think he's somebody that is very underrated, and he doesn't get credit for a lot of the things that he does very well. But I also think it's really hard when you're a running back. That's the position where I feel like your shelf life is the shortest, and after you have these injuries and hits pile up over the years, they start to take their toll on you. And it wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers went younger at the position, and I don't think that's a direct indictment on Jeff Wilson at all. It just would kind of again fall back on he's had more wear than some of these other guys, and he's had a couple unfortunate injuries recently, but he's still an NFL running back in my eyes, and I think that he will stick somewhere, whether it be with the 49ers or if he gets released, somebody else will pick him up. Wouldn't surprise me to see him end up in Miami with Mike McDaniel.
Shout out to everybody in here. I know that there's a lot of lives going on. 15 minutes in. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. My stay has been extended. I'm going to actually be here until Saturday, so the coverage will roll on and continue. So, yeah, I mean, hope you guys are happy for that and just ready for all the content. But I want to move on to Dylan's question. I understand it's hard to predict off of strictly camp, but what kind of leap do you both expect Aiyuk to take? Jordan, I'll let you start with this one.
It depends how you want to grade it. If you're going purely based off statistics, like I don't know that there's going to be this huge jump because I think that the 49ers offense is going to be running the ball quite a bit this year. I think that he is somebody that has so much athletic ability and so much potential to be that dominant receiver. The release packages he's showing off the line of scrimmage and his ability to separate has been absolutely incredible. So I think you're going to see an improved play from an individual level. I just don't know that it's directly going to translate to this, 1,300-yard receiving season because I don't think that's the direction the offense is going to go. But he looks locked in. He looks as locked in as I've ever seen him. And I think that it's really encouraging to see the full picture kind of coming together. And I don't think this is just a situation where it's like, oh, he's having an impressive training camp. He did the same thing last year. He looks like a completely different player in terms of the level of focus and the way he's engaged this year. And hey, getting in the center of 2 training camp fights the way he did today, you don't do that unless you're invested. And I think that Brandon Aiyuk is somebody that is going to really show people why the 49ers have a 1A and 1B and not necessarily a number 1 and number 2. And I'm really excited to see it. It's kind of hard to quantify these things, but there really does seem to be a special connection between he and Trey Lance. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out as well.
Yeah, and everybody has a number fixation and things like that. I don't like putting numbers on it. It's just you're seeing the progression. He's winning against whoever it is. He's getting himself open. He seems much more confident. And like Jordan said, he's getting in the middle of fights. And it's the same thing when people ask me, well, what did Trey Lance do? How was his throws? It's more I'm just watching how he does under pressure because he might be under pressure. He'll make a pass and it gets broken up, but it's in a good spot and it's just a good play. Does that incompletion go against him? No, necessarily. So I'm not really looking at like 5 of 19, 5 of 10, whatever it is. Like I don't really care about that. Like you're going play by play, watching him, and you're just watching Brandon Aiyuk be better, win different ways, win against everybody that's in front of him, and doing it against Charvarius Ward as well too, who wasn't there today, but doing that over and over against somebody who's been very good in man coverage. It's only going to help him out going forward. So let's see. Mason has another question. Who has been the most impressive tight end thus far in camp aside from George Kittle? Nobody really. I mean, I guess it's Ross Dwelly. I mean, they really haven't had too many throws to other people. Kittle had a really nice nice play today where Trey had a quick decision, went to him, but hasn't really been anybody that's really stood out in any way. I saw a little bit of Tyler Kroft today, but it's not really anybody, Jordan, unless you disagree with that.
I like Troy Fumagalli out of all the tight ends. I thought he's made a couple nice plays, but again, there hasn't been anything where it's really like jumping out at you. And I think the tight end spots are, pretty much spoken for. Like Kittle's obviously locked into one. I think Dwelly's pretty assuredly locked into one. And they'll carry a third. And, it's probably going to I'm probably going to – I can't with this, dude. It's probably going to be, Warner when he's, healthy and back to 100%. But, it's great to see JKBG. I've missed his comments that bring me nothing but joy. So I'm really glad to see it back on the screen. I can't confirm or deny whether or not that happened, but it's always good to see it.
I saw a really good tweet that said that there was a fight at camp between content creators who were trying to figure out who's the best content creator. And I was like, man, that's actually pretty funny. But
hey man, Brad Graham's washing everybody. That's not even close, dude. This man, you don't want the smoke with that man.
Absolutely not. I mean, I look at myself and I'm like, yeah, I'm really tall. It's like Brad would pick me up and slam me. And I don't know if any of us would really have any sort of chance with this one. But shout out to you, JKBG, always bringing the good comments as well, too. Let's see. Got.
I was going to say real quick, too. I mean, Croc kind of does deserve credit, man. He literally texted you in 3 minutes. We're on that Speedy app. So this man's got full out here, just so people know.
Do not encourage him at all because he's going to continue to run with this. This is bad behavior on his part. And I just want to say that I was plied with copious amounts of Red Bull and stuff like that. So it's not all my fault, man. I don't. Oh, goodness. All right. Mo asks, who's the pass catching back? It seems like it's Jermichael Hasty, but I got to say, man, I'm really impressed with Jordan Mason and the way he's been catching the ball out of the backfield. He seems to be doing everything right. Anytime that he gets his shot, he's popping off, and you're kind of seeing that come to fruition. What do you think, Jordan?
I think it's going to be Elijah Mitchell. I think I asked Elijah Mitchell what he thought what was one thing that he really worked on after a year in Shanahan's scheme that he maybe didn't without the knowledge of what they're expecting from him in this offense and, having the year in the NFL under his belt. And he said his main focus was staying on the field on third down. And you can see he's somebody who is looking a lot crisper with his routes. He's somebody that has hands. I think that he had that last year, but just having the year, again, under his belt has really turned him into more of a 3-down back. And while I do think it's going to be a committee approach, I think he's somebody that offers that skill set. And if he's able to, be that guy that can offer that receiving value while also being capable as a pass protector, I don't know that there's a better option. I do think Sermon will get a good amount of that work too, just based on his size. He's somebody that is a little bit bigger when it does come to pass protecting, which is very important if you're going to be on the field on third down. But, it kind of is going to be a running back by committee thing again. But I do think Elijah Mitchell is a name to watch, just as somebody who won't just be the base down, guy getting the most carries. I think he's somebody that's genuinely going to have work as a 3-down back. And I don't think they're going to necessarily rotate play to play. It'll be more series to series and Shanahan just riding the hot hand.
Heard you, man. Shout out to everybody in here. We got 100 people in here, 20 minutes in. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, follow us both on Twitter, and also run to Niners Nation to check out Jordan's new piece where he interviews Scott McLaughlin, former 49ers GM, man. It's high-level stuff, man. I implore you guys to go check that out. One more thing I wanted to talk about real quick, and I wanted to give more praise to Brandon Aiyuk. The last pass of Lance's day was a high throw to Brandon Aiyuk. Had to put it there because there was pressure in his face, and there was a guy with hands up. Guy went up and snagged it. I mean, I don't know what else this guy needs to do in these few days to impress anymore. But this has been Brandon Aiyuk's camp, and it's been so fun to watch, and I can't wait to continue to watch it, especially when Ward comes back, hopefully tomorrow, to see him lock up with him because he's just been electric so far.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's looked really good, and hey, Debo's looking pretty good too. He had a really impressive catch. I think it was from Sudfeld with the twos, where he went back across his body on a little drift route over the middle in traffic, and he came back behind him. It was high and behind him, and he went back, had the body control to bring it in and stay on his feet to keep moving after. He's a great receiver. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL. That's why he got paid the contract he got paid, and it's no surprise that the offense started looking a lot better once he got back out on the field with them.
Now, what you guys are all here to talk about. Nate Sudfeld had the 2 dimes of the day, okay? Your quarterback 2 is entrenched. I don't want to hear any more of this Brock Purdy stuff, okay? It's Nate Sudfeld's day. He's completely killing it. I'm just kidding. Trey Lance today. In the beginning, the pass protection was very good. And then I feel like as soon as I tweeted out that the pass protection was holding up and that he was looking better, the defensive line said, not so fast, my friend. And they started making things bad for Trey. Here, and in this way, here's just a 4-play sample. Sack, tunnel screen to Brandon Aiyuk, which is usually there for Deebo Samuel, sack. That is literally 4 plays right there that the defensive line was just working. Jordan, did you see anybody else that stood out besides the fact that, man, Nick Bosa is really good at football?
Samson Ebukam had a really, really good rep against Jalen Moore where he just blew right by and bent the edge around and got to that was one where there was no chance for that play to develop. He got there almost immediately. And again, I do think there were a couple plays where, again, my biggest concern with Trey Lance is just seeing how he develops with more reps, where it felt like he held onto the ball a couple times longer than he should have. There were a couple plays where it's really hard to see everything in live action. We obviously don't get practice footage of the film, so we can't go back and, watch how these plays are unfolding and if the coverage on the back end is locking things down. But there were a couple plays where Lance bailed from what looked like clean pockets, and he might have done so because everything was locked up downfield. The secondary is really good too. But those would have resulted in tackles at or behind the line of scrimmage if they were actually allowed to touch Lance. And that's something to keep an eye on going forward because that's been one of my bigger concerns watching him through the early stages of camp is there are times where he feels like he is kind of holding on to the ball a little bit too long and he's maybe overthinking things. Maybe he's just, again, needing to adjust a little bit. I'm not going to pretend like I know what's going on in the guy's head, and I'm not going to pretend like it would be easy for any of us to step in and go up against that Niners defense, especially that first team. But I do think that there is a bit of a concern where I'm seeing him, bail from these clean pockets where it doesn't look like there's pressure dictating him having to run. He's opting to run on his own. And there was a play, I know for sure, Amenahue got right in the gap where he would have ran through. It would have been a tackle at the line of scrimmage. And there was another play. I have it in my notes somewhere. I'm blanking on who it was, but it was against the first team. It would have been a sack in the backfield, and he looked to tuck and run. So, again, that's just something to keep an eye on. And, again, it's something that's going to improve probably with the more reps he gets. He's looked better each and every day he's been out there. He's looking more decisive. And I also think that this is one of the tougher defenses that he's going to go up against, even in practice, even though it's not full speed the way you'd be playing in a game. It still is a very, very tough defense to find daylight against. And I think that that's only going to serve to make him better in the long run, even if the immediate result isn't the most ideal outcome.
And there was no interceptions thrown today by anybody, but The closest one to getting an interception was Talanoa Hufanga, and he just finds himself around the ball somehow, huh? Kind of just went through his arms a little bit, but it was a tough play for him. But that was the only chance for any sort of interception. And I did notice a little bit of what Jordan was saying as well, too. And he's right. If he runs straight up, Omenihu grabs him and it's nothing. But again, everything's all a work in progress. He's been stacking good day after good day. And it seems like the offensive line's getting into a groove now that they can push back. Pads are on. Guys are starting to get a feel for each other. Again, McGlinchey wasn't in there today. Jalen Moore was struggling a little bit on the outside. But it's all going to get better once the rotation gets set together and guys are going to get to play with each other. So, yeah, and Cam Jr., Danny Gray had his best day today for sure. It wasn't even really close. I mean, 2 plays up the sideline, as we talked about earlier. A nice slant over the middle where he took a hit. Very, very good day for him today. And those were balls from Nate Sudfeld. So, Jordan, we don't really have to stay on for too much longer. I feel like we've covered things. Is there anything that you feel that I've missed, something that really stuck out to you today? And maybe we could wrap this up for everybody.
Yeah, no, just a couple. Like I thought there was a really impressive. The first one-on-one rep that I saw of the day was George Kittle and Talanoa Hufanga. And one thing that Hufanga's going to be asked to do at some point during the season is he's going to have to match up in coverage with guys in the slot. He's going to have to match up with tight ends at a certain point. And there is maybe one, if not any tight end in the league that is, a tougher coverage assignment than George Kittle is. So his first rep of one-on-ones is up against Kittle. And he got very handsy with him at the line of scrimmage. And it's hard to get physical with George Kittle. That's a very large and fast human being off the line of scrimmage. And Hufanga locked him up on the first play, got his hands in there, didn't let Kittle get around to the ball and make the play. And I thought that was really encouraging. And then there was a really nice play in 11s where I think you just mentioned it, where Jennings is running this crosser. And, Hufanga pulled up. He got sticky with the dig and got in there and got his hands on the ball, man. And he definitely it looked like the ball was a little out in front of Jennings, but it also looked like he kind of pulled up a little bit because if he keeps running, even though it's practice, he would have gotten hit by Hufanga. And I think that he has a great opportunity to really thrive in that, lurk, robber role where they're in cover one and he's able to really patrol that middle of the field and jump those crossing routes. So again, Hufanga, sticky with the dig, great, performance today. And I really liked what I saw from him today.
Yeah, and his other one-on-one rep was against Tanner Hudson. Not exactly a household name, but he had a pass breakup. So he was clamped again today. Some other one-on-ones that I was looking at, Trey Sermon, who had his best day by far, he actually beat Aziz Al-Shair pretty well on a route. It was a nice play. Ball was in the air. Beautiful throw from Brock Purdy. And then Aziz came right back and faced Jermichael Hasty, who had been very good with his routes, and then locked him up. So it was good to see him bounce back. You see guys making plays on other guys, and it's not necessarily, well, this guy's not good. Hey, there's some talented players on this team. And Trey Sermon really showed out today. I mean, it's important because he kind of just was floating through camp. Like you see him, we're like, oh, there's Trey Sermon. There he did something. He had a drop yesterday in one-on-ones that he was visibly upset. I think he understands what he's on the cusp of, 3rd-round pick. How's he going to dictate any playing time? How's he going to push for that? But today is going to go a long way if he continues to stack days. They're not going to be able to ignore him. He was very, very good today. So, yeah, I mean, that's going to do it, I guess, for us. Shout out to everybody in here. We got up to about 125 people in the live. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. You have tons of great people at camp that are doing things, and you chose to hang out with us. Really appreciate that. On your way out, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Jordan, tell them where to find you and tell them where to find all your stuff.
Go to NinersNation.com right now. Stop what you're doing. I'm serious. Hit that search bar, NinersNation.com. I promise you will not be disappointed. And if you are, please direct all your complaints to Jason because he gave me this platform, so he's ultimately responsible for it. But I don't think you'll have that problem. So head over, NinersNation.com. We got some great stuff over there.
And if you pass any complaints over to me, I will pass it over to Kyle Posey, who's sitting right over there. So I'm not gonna. We're just gonna keep putting it in like chain of command here. It has nothing to do with me. But for everybody that's here, man, shout out to you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. We will be back tomorrow with more camp talk. Hopefully, less fights and more good things to talk about on offense, defense, things like that. But for now, go Niners. Welcome everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte.